In the dying twilight of the Seljuk Empire, where order crumbles and power splinters, a forgotten corner of Anatolia whispers with the winds of destiny. The land is restless, bandits prowl the forests, Byzantine outposts flicker like dying candles, and Turkic tribes roam the ruins of former greatness, clinging to honor, faith, and survival. Among them walks Osman, the son of Ertugrul, a quiet yet fierce leader with eyes that seem to look beyond the present. He speaks little, but his presence commands loyalty. His tribe, though small and often dismissed by rivals, follows him not out of fear, but because he sees a future they cannot yet imagine. One night, Osman is drawn to solitude and prayer, retreating beneath a gnarled tree outside his camp. In the silence, a vision overwhelms him, a dream wrapped in divine mystery. A holy man appears, his beard flowing like white fire, placing his head on Osman's chest and declaring, "A tree will grow from you, its branches reaching across the earth, sheltering the oppressed and humbling kings." Osman sees cities fall before him, rivers part, and crescent banners rising over 3 continents. He awakens in a sweat, shaken, inspired, and afraid. Not all are happy with his newfound sense of purpose. Enter Sungur Bey, Osman's closest friend since childhood, loyal in public, but twisted by ambition in secret. Sungur interprets Osman's dream as madness, or worse, delusion fed by power. Why him? He wonders. Why not me? The seed of betrayal is planted that very night. As Osman's warriors begin raiding weakened Byzantine fortresses with uncanny success, rumors swirl that he is protected by fate. Sungur, sensing his moment slipping away, begins forming a silent faction among the tribal elders, questioning Osman's legitimacy, whispering that dreams are not destiny. Meanwhile, Byzantine scouts report strange activity near the frontier, a ghost-like force growing bolder, led by a commander they name the Crescent Wolf. The Empire. The Empire laughs, but some begin to worry. This Osman, he's different. As the episode ends, Osman sits alone once again beneath that same gnarled tree, sharpening his sword. The dream still echoes in his mind. He does not yet realize. He is no longer just a tribal chief. He is a storm gathering in silence. The Crescent has begun its slow ascent. The modest frontier state founded by Osman has become a rising power. His descendants, seasoned in both faith and fire, push deeper into enemy lands. But while the empire grows outward, a rot begins inward, one born not of weakness, but of ambition soaked in blood. The throne now belongs to Murad, a brilliant and bold young sultan, charismatic, disciplined, and feared on the battlefield. But in the shadow of his coronation stands his younger half-brother, Ishak, beloved by soldiers, poets, and the common folk alike. Ishak, though softer in speech, possesses a sharp political mind. And worse, he has a certain glow, the kind that draws loyalty in whispers and glances. At first, Murad shows affection, granting Ishak honorary titles and rooms in the palace. But the court, as always, is a jungle of whispers. Viziers murmur about Ishak's popularity. Janissary commanders joke about the better brother. And Murad, still grieving his father's death, begins to wonder if his own blood will one day spill by his brother's hand. A secret council is held. An elder advisor, weathered by decades of palace intrigue, suggests a horrific but necessary solution, one that had been used before, quietly, in the deeper folds of the dynasty's fabric. Better one dead than 1,000 dead in civil war, he says coldly. Murad resists for a time, but when a forged letter surfaces, falsely implicating Ishak in a coup, and a group of guards loyal to Ishak are caught training at night, Murad's fears explode into fury. Whether planted or real, the threat is enough. In the cold hours before dawn, Ishak is summoned to a quiet chamber in the palace. He embraces his guards, unaware that they have been bribed. What follows is swift, silent, and merciless. A boy stood before the gates of an ancient world and shattered it. At just 21, Mehmed II, son of Murad, does the unthinkable. He conquers Constantinople, the once mythical heart of Christendom. For centuries, sultans dreamed of breaking its walls. But Mehmed did not dream. He planned. He studied siege warfare like poetry. He built cannons the size of monsters. And when the city fell, he did not weep. He entered Hagia Sophia not as a looter, but as a shadow in armor. He offered protection, order, and tolerance. The world hailed him as the conqueror. But victory has its own poison. In the weeks after the conquest, whispers begin to rise from the shattered stones of Byzantium. Strange fires flicker in underground chapels. Priests vanish from their cells. And an ancient Christian order, long buried beneath the pomp of the Orthodox Church, emerges from the catacombs. The Circle of the Crossed Keys. These zealots do not see Mehmed as a ruler. They see him as an antichrist. As bodies pile, paranoia blooms. Mehmed becomes increasingly reclusive, obsessed with the idea that he has not conquered a city, but awakened a curse. He dreams of tunnels beneath the Bosphorus, of monks with burning eyes, of maps that lead to nowhere. In the former imperial library, now under Ottoman control, a forbidden manuscript is found, a prophecy written by a Byzantine mystic centuries ago. It describes a red sultan who will take the city by fire and lose himself to the very stones he conquers. One night, Mehmed wanders into the underground cisterns alone. There, etched into the walls, he sees a symbol, 2 crossed keys, freshly carved. He screams. No one answers. The episode closes with Mehmed seated on his throne, the crown of Constantinople heavy on his head. He has everything he ever wanted, but in his eyes, something is breaking. The city is his, but is he still himself? The empire glows in its golden age, and at its center sits Suleiman, the Magnificent. Crowned with wisdom, sharpened by war, and cloaked in divine authority, Sultan Suleiman rules over a land that stretches across 3 continents. His armies are feared. His laws are studied. His name echoes in the streets of Cairo, Damascus, and Budapest. But even sultans are mortal. Immortals fall in love. In the heart of Suleiman's vast place, beyond the throne room, beyond the courts of viziers and generals, lies the harem, a world of silk, shadow, and whispers. It is here that the Sultan first sees her, Roxolana, a red-haired slave girl from the far reaches of the Christian lands. Captured, renamed, forgotten, but not by him. Roxolana is unlike any woman the court has ever known. She does not weep. She does not beg. She smiles. And behind that smile is a fire the empire has never faced. She sings songs in a language no one understands. She charms the eunuchs. She befriends the chief concubine, only to see her suddenly sent away in shame. Her belly soon swells, Suleiman's child, and the court erupts in silent panic. The queen mother, the grand vizier, and even Suleiman's oldest friend Ibrahim Pasha begin to worry. No slave has ever risen like this. And as Roxolana becomes his legal wife, breaking centuries of tradition, she begins to whisper names into his ear. Names of enemies, names of allies, names of those who might betray him or her. Soon, those names start to disappear. A poisoned ring is found on a court servant. A fire mysteriously burns down the private quarters of a rival concubine. Ibrahim Pasha himself is invited to a private dinner with Suleiman. He never leaves the room alive. Now, Roxolana rules the harem, and much of the palace, from behind a curtain. She builds schools and mosques, writes letters to foreign queens, and raises her son, Selim, not just as a prince, but as an heir. But her past still follows her. Letters from her homeland, a secret locket, a strange medallion bearing a crest no one can trace. Who was Roxolana before the empire? And why does she stare at the Bosphorus some nights, as if waiting for something or someone to return? The golden age is here, but it glimmers with tension, because inside the empire's most sacred palace, love has become a weapon, and the deadliest war is the one behind silk curtains. They once marched like shadows, loyal only to the Sultan, trained from childhood, torn from their families, and raised to be fearless. The Janissaries were the empire's sword, incorruptible, unstoppable, and terrifying. But that was centuries ago. Now, the sword is turned inward. The once elite corps has grown bloated with privilege, drunk on power. They openly defy orders, extort the people they once swore to protect, and crown sultans of their choosing. Behind the palace gates, everyone whispers the same truth. The Janissaries no longer serve the empire. The empire serves them, and then they go too far. When Sultan Osman II, young, visionary, and naive, tries to reform them, it triggers a storm he cannot control. He dreams of a modern army, loyal and lean, independent from the Janissary grip. But before he can act, he vanishes. Days later, his lifeless body is found dumped in a shallow grave outside the palace walls. The empire is shaken to its core. For the first time in Ottoman history, a sultan has been murdered by his own army. But not everyone within the Janissaries is loyal to this madness. In secret corners of the barracks, an ambitious officer named Kara Halil begins plotting from within. He's seen the decay, he's seen corruption, and most of all, he's seen the betrayal that cost him his brother, a commander assassinated by jealous peers when he refused to join their extortion rackets. Kara Halil knows this army won't be reformed. It must be destroyed. So begins a dangerous game of masks and mirrors. Kara gains influence, rising through the ranks, even as he quietly builds a secret alliance with a prince in exile, a boy with royal blood and a vendetta that burns hotter than fire. Meanwhile, in the palace, the new sultan, a puppet enthroned by the Janissaries, begins to realize too late that he's just a figurehead in a uniform soaked with blood. Whispers grow that even the harem fear the Janissaries. Courtiers disappear. Ministers are replaced by men with battlefield scars and dead eyes. But the core is beginning to fracture. A new faction arises within the Janissaries, calling themselves the Purifiers. They claim loyalty to the Sultan and vow to purge the traitors from their own ranks. But who really leads them? And why do they seem to answer not to the palace, but to Kara Halil himself? The streets of Istanbul grow tense. A riot breaks out near the barracks. A single pistol shot from an unseen rooftop kills a Janissary leader during a parade. Revenge is swift, but the cracks are showing, because the once loyal army is at war with itself, and no one knows yet, not even the Sultan, that this is just the beginning of the Janissary war, where blood will spill not on foreign fields, but in the heart of the empire itself. The empire no longer crowns heroes. It crowns survivors. In a palace once filled with the thunder of conquerors, a quiet madness has taken root. The Janissary stranglehold has broken the old order, and now sultans are chosen not by merit, but by convenience. And so, the golden age gives way to the golden cage, the caves. A gilded prison within the palace, hidden behind screens and heavy doors, where royal princes are locked away from the world, denied sunlight, love, freedom, and often sanity, all in the name of preventing rebellion. And in one such cage, a storm brews. Prince Ibrahim, younger brother to the reigning sultan, was once brilliant, a scholar, a thinker, a strategist. But years in isolation have twisted his mind. He speaks to shadows. He weeps at birdsong. The court calls him Ibrahim, the mad behind closed doors. Yet the sultan's health is failing, and there is no other heir. The empire teeters on the edge of a dangerous choice: crown the mad prince, or face a civil war over succession. But Ibrahim is not alone in his golden prison. Through whispered songs and smuggled letters, he has formed a secret bond with Layla, a court musician with a voice like honey and a past shrouded in lies. Their love blossoms in the dark, forbidden, reckless, and utterly explosive, because Layla is no mere entertainer. She is the illegitimate daughter of a former Grand Vizier, banished by palace enemies long ago. Together, Ibrahim and Layla begin a plot, not just escape, but ascension. Meanwhile, the reigning sultan dies, some say by poison, others whisper the Janissaries pulled the strings. With no clear successor, chaos erupts in the capital. Ministers panic. Generals bribe for favor. The Janissaries debate installing a puppet child instead of the untested and unstable Ibrahim. But before they can act, a mysterious fire sweeps through the grand hall. In the smoke and confusion, Ibrahim emerges, not mad, but burning with purpose. Backed by a surprise alliance of palace eunuchs, loyal concubines, and Layla's hidden network of exiles, he seizes the throne in a daring midnight coronation. For the first time in decades, a sultan is crowned without Janissary approval. But the palace rejoices too soon, because the new sultan is not the Ibrahim they knew. His years in the cage have not left him unscarred. He rules with unpredictable fury. He builds monuments to the stars. He declares poetry as law. Ministers vanish overnight. The harem lives in fear. And in the heart of the palace, Layla begins to wonder, did I free a lover or unleash a tyrant? The world is changing, but the empire is still asleep. Europe crackles with revolution. Factories belch smoke, newspapers spread ideas like wildfire, and railroads cut across borders like veins in a new heart. Kings fall, parliaments rise, science replaces superstition. But in Istanbul, time stands still. The Ottoman Empire, once the terror of the West, clings to tradition like a drowning man clings to driftwood. The bureaucracy is swollen and corrupt. The army trains with 50-year-old rifles. Ministers argue over astrology while foreign powers carve up their borders. And yet, deep in the empire's rotting heart, someone is planning a resurrection. His name is Mahmud Celal, a brilliant young general born of two worlds, the bastard son of an Ottoman pasha and a Balkan washerwoman. Educated in secret by reformist scholars, Mahmud rises through the military ranks like a ghost, loyal to the uniform, but haunted by what the empire has become. He sees what others don't, that the empire isn't just dying, it's already dead. What remains is an illusion, held together by bribes, fear, and forgotten glories. But Mahmud is not alone. In the underground coffee houses of Salonika and Smyrna, a secret society gathers by candlelight. The young Ottomans, idealists, soldiers, poets, and exiles who believe the empire can be saved. They want a constitution, a parliament, a future, and Mahmud? He's their key. But loyalty is not so easily severed. Mahmud has one foot in the palace, where the Sultan still trusts him, and one foot in the fire. If he's discovered, he'll be executed. If he hesitates, the movement dies. Things escalate when a strange document surfaces in the capital. A revolutionary manifesto calling for the Sultan to step down. It's signed with a single letter, and the palace panics. Arrests, torture, paranoia. The Grand Vizier orders a purge of the army. Mahmud is ordered to hunt the traitors, and finds himself hunting his own friends. And then a betrayal. The young Ottomans are ambushed in a coastal safe house. Half are killed. Mahmud survives, barely, but loses someone he never admitted he loved. Wounded, grieving, and exiled from both sides, Mahmud disappears. But whispers remain. Some say he was executed. Others say he defected. But those who truly know the fire of revolution say he is still waiting. Waiting for the right war, the right spark, to finally wake the empire from its century-long sleep. The Balkans were once the empire's most prized jewels, a patchwork of cultures, fiercely loyal, united under the crescent. But now, the once unshakable provinces begin to fracture. The Ottoman grip is slipping. The Serbs, the Greeks, the Bulgarians, all tear at the seams of their centuries-old bonds with the empire. Revolts spread like wildfire. The sound of gunfire echoes across the mountains and valleys where Ottoman rule once stood unchallenged. But in the shadows, there's something far darker than rebellion brewing. A betrayal so close to home, so deep within the royal veins, it will change the course of history forever. The man at the center of it all is Prince Vasily, a forgotten heir who was exiled to the Balkans after a failed coup in his youth. Once a loyal Ottoman officer, he is now a man with nothing to lose. The rebels consider him a symbol. The empire sees him as a threat. But Vasily is not just a leader of revolution. He is the illegitimate son of a sultan, and the only surviving witness to a forbidden royal affair, a scandal that could destroy everything the Ottomans stand for. Years ago, when the empire's influence in the Balkans was at its peak, a forbidden love affair between a Balkan noblewoman and a sultan set off a chain of events that would unravel the Ottomans' control over the region. Vasily was the child born of that love, and he has never forgiven the sultan for abandoning him to the harsh wilderness of exile. Now Vasily is back. He's rallying the Balkans against the Ottoman Empire, claiming his birthright as both an heir and a revolutionary. The sultan, now deep in his own web of palace intrigue, knows that Vasily's return cannot be ignored. His old enemies have already begun to gather, with secret meetings, hidden messages, and promises of autonomy in exchange for rebellion. And the Janissaries, once the empire's iron fist, now seem divided, unable to hold the fractured provinces together. But the greatest twist comes when the Sultan's own son, Prince Selim, arrives at the battlefield to quell the uprising. The prince, a man raised in luxury, trained in diplomacy, and destined for a royal life, finds himself torn between the duty to his father and the truth he uncovers about his own bloodline. He learns that Vasily is his half-brother. The betrayal stings even deeper when the Sultan's trusted advisors, seeing Selim's hesitation, trap him in the web of palace politics. Prince Selim is manipulated into making a tragic decision. He must lead his army against the very brother he never knew he had. But just as the final battle looms, an unexpected betrayal shocks both sides. Layla, Ibrahim's former lover and confidant, now a figure of considerable power in the court, reveals she has been secretly working with Vasily all along. Her affection for Ibrahim was never just love, but a calculated move in a larger scheme. Now, with Vasily's uprising threatening to succeed, she provides him with secret intelligence that will turn the tide of battle in his favor. The rebel victory in the Balkans is decisive, but the cost is high. The Sultan's dynasty now hangs by a thread. The once loyal regions of the Ottoman Empire begin to drift into the hands of those who will never bow again. In the wake of the betrayal, the Sultan's power weakens, and within the shattered palace, the true heir, Vasily, begins to plot his final move to take the throne. The Great War is here, and the empire, once the world's most feared, is playing its final hand. As Europe burns with the chaos of World War I, the Ottoman Empire stands at a crossroads. The world has changed. The Ottomans, however, remain stuck in the past, desperately clinging to alliances that no longer serve them. But their old enemies have a new proposition: Germany. The Kaiser offers the Ottoman Sultan a lifeline, an alliance that promises to divide the spoils of Europe once the dust settles. For the Sultan, this is a chance to restore the empire to its former glory, to reclaim some of the lost territories, to keep the legacy alive. But there's a catch. The Sultan is old, his grip on power weakening. His ministers, split between those who see the alliance as an opportunity and those who see it as the beginning of their undoing, are at odds. The empire's once proud military is a shadow of its former self, and the Janissaries, long gone, have left a dangerous vacuum. Yet, amidst the infighting, a secret emerges, and it will shift the course of the war. A young Ottoman officer, Mostafa Kemal, a man who had risen through the ranks on the promise of reform and modernity, begins to quietly negotiate with the British. Kemal, ever the realist, understands that Germany's defeat is inevitable, and so he makes a decision that will haunt him for the rest of his life. In secret meetings with British diplomats, he discusses a possible Ottoman exit from the war, a shift of allegiance, and even the possibility of the empire's disintegration into smaller states. He is willing to sacrifice the Sultan's dynasty for the future of his country, believing that the empire is too corrupt to survive. But it's a dangerous game. If anyone discovers his dealings, it could be his death sentence. Meanwhile, as the front lines burn, the Sultan grows increasingly paranoid. His closest advisors know something is wrong. Rumors swirl that Kemal, once loyal, is now a traitor. But the Sultan, isolated in his palace, refuses to listen. His ego cannot bear the thought that his empire is on the brink of collapse. His desperation fuels the fires of betrayal even further. The final blow comes when Kemal's dealings are exposed. One of his closest allies, a double agent within the Sultan's court, reveals the secret to the Sultan's trusted generals, the men who have long been unhappy with the old ways and who see Kemal's reforms as the future of the Ottoman world. A bloody confrontation follows. Kemal is arrested and brought before the Sultan in chains. The young officer, now branded a traitor, refuses to beg for mercy. He has seen the end of the empire long before the Sultan ever realized it. His eyes burn with the fire of a revolution that no longer has time to wait. The Sultan's advisors debate whether to execute him publicly or privately, but in the end, they know the empire's fate is sealed. Kemal, now a prisoner, is sent into exile. He is abandoned, forgotten by the very rulers he had once fought to protect. But in the shadows, his supporters, a growing underground movement, have already begun to work. Kemal's legacy will not die with him, but it is already too late for the empire. The Sultan's decision to ally with Germany, the choice to stay in a war that has no victor, has spelled the end of the Ottoman dream. The empire crumbles under the weight of its own stubbornness, its refusal to adapt, to modernize, to listen to the winds of change. And then, the final betrayal. As the war concludes, the Allies carve up the Ottoman remains, a shattered corpse divided among the victors. The Sultan flees. His dynasty ends in shame. His palace empty. His dreams of restoration reduced to dust. The Ottoman Empire, once a global superpower, the beacon of Islam, and a symbol of dominance, is no more. The Sultan flees the capital in disgrace. The imperial palace is left to crumble. The dynasty that once ruled 3 continents has been erased from history. The crescent falls. The world watches in stunned silence as the empire's final days unfold. The Allied powers, Britain, France, and Italy, carve up the Ottoman lands like vultures picking at the remnants of a dead beast. The Arab provinces are promised independence, but quickly fall under the shadow of new colonial rulers. The territories in Europe are lost. Anatolia is left to wither, a fractured shell of what it once was. But in the wake of destruction, something incredible begins to take shape. From the ashes of the empire rises a man whose destiny was never meant to be. Mostafa Kemal, once a disgraced officer, a prisoner, and a traitor in the eyes of the old regime, is now the only one with the vision, the will, and the authority to rise above the chaos. He is no longer just a soldier. He is the savior of his people. The nation, humiliated by foreign occupation and internal collapse, is ready for a leader. Kemal rallies the Turkish people, igniting a movement that will ultimately lead to the Turkish War of Independence. The remnants of the old Ottoman army, along with civilians desperate to reclaim their homeland, flock to his banner. The Sultan's allies are scattered, the imperial order dismantled. As Kemal's forces sweep across Anatolia, a surprising twist emerges. Kemal is not just fighting for a new nation, but against the very remnants of the Ottoman dynasty. In a bold and shocking move, Kemal dismantles the caliphate, once the spiritual heart of Islam. He declares that the time for empires is over. The age of monarchy is dead. What rises next will be a modern republic. His actions are nothing short of revolutionary. He eliminates the Ottoman royal family, publicly revealing their failings, their betrayal of the people, their corruption. The empire that once wielded vast power now lies in ruins. But in its place, Kemal's Republic of Turkey is born. However, the final blow isn't just political. It's deeply personal. In a stunning twist, Kemal reveals his own lineage. He is the illegitimate son of the last sultan, the very man who fled the capital and left the empire to die. The hidden heir to the Ottoman throne, he is both the destroyer of the old world and the rebirth of a new one. Kemal's rise is not just a victory over foreign powers, but a symbolic revenge against the dynasty that abandoned him and his people. The legacy of the Ottomans, tainted by corruption, betrayal, and decay, ends with the crushing revelation of their ultimate failure. And as the empire's old enemies rejoice in its collapse, they fail to notice the true revolution that is taking place before their eyes. Kemal's vision for Turkey isn't just about sovereignty or independence. It's about modernity. It's about secularism, reform, and progress. The Ottoman legacy, bound to tradition, to glory and decay, ends here. The Sultan's last vestige of power crumbles into history, his lineage reduced to a faint whisper in the streets of Istanbul. The caliphate is abolished, and the Turkish Republic is born from the blood of a people who refuse to be ruled by the past. Mustafa Kemal's final act is to reveal his own secret lineage to the world, not out of pride, but as a symbol of the broken empire he destroyed and the future he is building. Vengeance has been served, and with it, the winds of change sweep through the land, heralding a new era for the Turkish people. If you've been captivated by the dramatic rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire, the fierce betrayals, the twists of fate, and the stunning transformation of Turkey into a modern republic, don't miss a single moment of this incredible historical journey. Hit the like button, share this video with fellow history lovers, and don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales from the past. Want to dive deeper into the stories of history's greatest empires and their legacies? Leave a comment below with your thoughts on the Ottoman Empire, its rulers, and its ultimate fate. And if you want to be part of the conversation, Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of our historical deep dives. This is only the beginning. The past has so much more to teach us. Stay tuned for the next epic saga.